Hey everybody, it's Wednesday evening, October 13th, 2021. Thank you for joining me. Got another very important update today. We've got a lot of economic news to go over today, and we're going to do a deep dive into the inflation numbers, what the official numbers are saying, what they're telling us, and versus what's happening in the real world. So, another dose of economic reality. Let's go ahead and get started. Please make sure you're subscribed because things are going to start getting even crazier in the coming months, and we want to make sure we look at all these things together. And I'd like to see your comments on this. Let's start right here. And this one's out of CNBC. Sharp surge in energy prices threatens economic recovery and is already slowing growth. So, yes, people are going to have less free cash, less money to go out and spend. And what happens when people pull back on their spending? Well, that's most of the US economy, right? It's mostly a consumer base, mostly a borrow and spend economy, and jobs disappear even faster when people pull back on their spending. That's why it was so important that the stimulus checks were sent out back in 2020. We had what, three stimulus checks? And there's more stimulus checks being discussed, possibly in the pipeline. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Economists say that the energy surge is still far from the kind of oil shock that could trigger a recession, but the trend is troubling, and much higher prices could spook consumers and slow spending. Yes, energy prices are rising. Oil's still at 80 or above. Gas prices, we're going to talk about that next. I'm almost afraid to look, but I saw it today at the pump here in California, and I already know what it is, but we're going to show you some numbers here in the US. And also, we've got a surge in the cost of heating. We're talking about natural gas. Consumers, brace yourselves for a cold winter and an expensive winter. Recent article out of NPR: US households will pay more to heat their homes this winter, officials say. Take a look at this. Nearly half of US households heat their homes with natural gas, and they will pay 30% more on average this winter, while homes warmed by electricity will pay 6% more. So natural gas, roughly half the households, 30% more. Now let's take a look at the Fed's official inflation number. Recent article here out of Reuters. Consumer price index increases 0.4% in September. Core CPI gains 0.2%, increases 4% year over year. So the official number, the one that the quote unquote experts are telling us, is about 4%. Yet, look at all of the rising prices. We're talking about a 30% increase in gas, for heating oil, rather, natural gas. What about regular gas? What about at the pump? Let's take a look. And this is out of gasbuddy.com. This chart, going back about 2 years, shows us it's nearly doubled. We were at about a national average of about 170, 174 about 2 years ago. Now we're approaching here to about $3.30 a gallon. We're right at about 328. You see it did take another step up here recently, another increase recently. Now let's take a look at California. Let's just bring up San Diego here and see how we're stacking up here. We were at about 430, I believe, the last time I checked. Where are we at? It's going to bring up a red line onto this chart. We are approaching 440 per gallon. There is a part of California, an area at least, that's seeing about $758 a gallon. That's in a very remote part of off the coast in Northern California. We talked about that a couple videos ago. Now, the people on fixed incomes and a lot of the bottom 50% and retired people, a lot of them are on fixed incomes. They're going to feel the brunt of this rise in the cost of living and this brutal winter we have coming up here with the rising cost of heating and all the other costs and cost of living that's rising. The pandemic has disrupted retirement plans for 35% of Americans, study finds. This is a headline out of CNBC. Was it the pandemic or was it the response from the money printers and the shutdowns that caused all of the disruptions, the supply chain issues, the labor shortage? So yes, those on fixed incomes, retired people, a lot of retired people anyway, rely on that monthly payout. And that's why there's talk of the biggest increase in Social Security ever. So on one side of the mouth, their mouths, they're saying that inflation, fairly noticeable. But then on the other hand, they say, well, we better give seniors the biggest increase ever in the cost of living adjustment because they're in big trouble. And we're going to see a lot of people working until they're older. We talked a few episodes ago about student loan debt making people working into their 60s, 70s, and 80s to pay off their kids and grandkids' student loans. Well, now the rising cost of living is going to have the same thing, and you're going to see Walmart greeters now. Who knows? 95, 100 years old sitting in the front of Walmart. Who knows? But hey, I guess 90 is the new 20. William Shatner, 90 years old, going into space. So no problem, I guess, working at 90. William Shatner can go into space. We can keep working until we're 90 something years old, apparently. And inflation was really tamed and was really under 5% or around the 2% target like the Fed is telling us, then why are we seeing headlines like this, where so many people are basically putting off their retirement, disrupting their retirement plans? All right, and back to the cost of heating, just a minute here. Newsweek is reporting even worse. U.S. homes could see a 54% rise in heating costs, especially for propane natural gas. So it's going to get bad, folks. And people on fixed incomes, especially people in colder climates, are going to have a rough winter coming up here. And we know that it's essentially being acknowledged that people on fixed incomes are having a tough time, even though the official inflation numbers are really low. If the official inflation or the real inflation that people are actually having to pay out, the prices, if they're really low, then why did Social Security just get its biggest bump ever? We also have the rising food prices. Right, everywhere we look, prices going up. This Reuters article, higher inflation squeezing U.S. consumers, food prices, rents accelerate. Yes, it's being acknowledged now by several news outlets. And, we've been talking about this for years, that prices are going to continue to rise. Look out for inflation. The money printer's gone wild. Also, lawmakers are out there talking about another stimulus check, this time for Social Security recipients. So obviously, other people are seeing that even this biggest bump up ever in Social Security, the cost of living adjustment known as COLA, even that, the record bump in that is not enough to keep up with these rising prices. If they were, why would we even have the discussion of another stimulus check just for people on Social Security? It's going to get rough out there for a lot of people, folks. Hopefully you're doing well at this time. Let's talk about the debt ceiling. We've got about $500 billion that helps kick the can down the road a little bit. They're talking about sometime in December now, but all of that $500 billion is already earmarked for use. So essentially it's already spent. All right, it's debt on top of debt on top of debt. As soon as the money printer stops, as soon as the debt stops getting bigger, you're going to see the biggest collapse that we've ever seen. And it could be a Mad Max scenario. Because of that, a lot of people are just hoping for higher inflation. Some people even want stagflation, where you see little to no economic growth, and we're still going to see rising prices at the same time. So buckle up, folks. Continue to prepare. Now's a good time to cut back on needless spending, and that's what myself and my household has been trying to focus on. Do you really need to pay $100, $200 a month for cable TV, for example? Do you really need to go to an amusement park, let's say Disney, and spend sometimes thousands of dollars if you have a family? When you add up all the cost of lodging and everything else. So be careful out there, folks. Watch your dollars carefully, and keep preparing, because this thing is going to get nasty, especially for the bottom 50%. If you're an investor, maybe you're doing well at this time. Please let us know down in the comments how you're doing, and like to hear from you. Talk to everybody very soon. Thanks for being here. Stay well, stay safe, stay prepared. Bye for now. Peace.